Hello, and welcome to AcceliGOV. My name is Michael Lake, President, CEO, and founder of Leading Cities. We are a nonprofit organization headquartered in Boston, Massachusetts, but we work with communities, municipalities all over the world. And in that work, we identified some years ago that there was a real gap between innovators and the creations that they've come up with, the solutions to urban challenges, and the municipalities and the governments that need to be deploying those solutions. To bridge that gap, we created a program called AcceliCity. It has become the world's largest GovTech-focused accelerator program. Just to give you a sense, last year alone, we vetted over 650 solutions from 80 countries. Of those solutions, we are now offering 6 pilots of some of the top innovations that we found from around the world. You will now have an opportunity to hear from those solution providers. Get a sense of not only the solution they've created, but the pilot they're now offering you as part of our AcceliGOV program. AcceliGOV exists to connect these opportunities to pilot innovative solutions in your community. If you have any questions regarding the AcceliGOV process or the pilots or even the solution itself, please do not hesitate to reach out to us at AcceliGOV@leadingcities.org. That's AcceliGOV at leadingcities.org. But now, and more importantly, I want you to hear from this solution provider to inspire you as to why you should be applying before our February 29th deadline for their solution. Thank you very much for your time and attention, and I look forward to hearing from you with any further questions you might have.
Hi, good morning. Really nice to be meeting you all, and I'm really excited to be sharing more about Itselectric and this potential really excellent pilot opportunity that we have with AcceliGOV. So just going to jump right in here. Itselectric is solving the biggest barriers that cities face to deploy urban EV charging infrastructure. And why is this important? Well, for us, when we started Itselectric a couple of years ago, we realized that none of the EV charging providers that were out there in the North American market were really thinking about the particular demands and needs of cities. The problem and the discussion was really focused on drivers who are worried about getting stranded while they're driving in between cities, sort of this range anxiety that you hear about. But what we identified as a need was really what we call access anxiety. That's just the lack of any kind of electric vehicle charging and public vehicle charging in cities. And you may know that about 85 to 90% of EV charging in North America happens at home. So that's for drivers that own driveways and garages. They get an electric vehicle and they are able to plug their car in and charge in their driveway or garage. That's a great way to drive a car, but it really leaves out about 40 million US drivers that don't have that access to their own off-street parking because they rely on parking their cars on city streets. And so city drivers, urban drivers, are being left out of this formula for the transition from gas to electric. This lines up with reports that we've seen from NREL and other sources that estimate we need in our urban areas about an additional 1 million public level 2 chargers. So that's in addition to the couple 100,000 DC fast chargers. We need 1 million public level 2 chargers to be deployed in our urban areas just in the next 6 years to enable this transition. Other estimates have it even twice that. So that's where we sit. And we believe that as a company, one of the things that's different about us is our city's first approach to thinking about EV charging. We're not a manufacturer that's trying to sell you a charger. Actually, what we try to do is to figure out what the easiest and most equitable way to deploy EV charging in cities should be. And there's a few things around that. One of them is the idea that the charger should be located at the curb, at curbside. This is where a lot of city drivers are parking their vehicles overnight. And this is where they'd be able to plug in and find that convenient and available overnight or opportunity charging while they're either working or while they're at home. Uh, Installing things in the right of way can be complicated, as we acknowledge, but there is a way to make it easier, both in terms of how you power the charger and how you permit it. And what we've decided to do is to partner with the private properties that own that street frontage for where those parking spaces are located. So this is a behind the meter connection. It's very different than what's being done today in most places for curbside charging, which is to try to connect that charger directly to the utility main in the roadway. And that process, as some of you may know, can be very time consuming and expensive. In many cases, the utility doesn't have the correct voltage at the curbside location, so you need to have some sort of upgrade to that service line. That requires an interconnection agreement, a lot of engineering. It also requires additional equipment to be located in the right of way. So from a capital perspective, it's much more intensive. The behind the meter approach, on the other hand, really sort of replicates the permitting structure for a driver with that off-street parking location. We're just installing a level 2 charger on their main service panel, and we pull that out to the curbside. And then once that charger is deployed, anyone in the community can use that charger. Now, you might be wondering, why would a private property owner let us do this? Well, we are able to make this installation, provide the hardware and the construction costs at no cost to the property owner, so it's free to them. We handle all of it as a turnkey service. And then once the charger's live, we actually share a portion of the revenue from the charger back with the host property. So what we're doing here is also simplifying the permitting process, because we're pulling a permit on behalf of that property owner. It's city-owned property, but the property owners have different sort of rights and regulations around how that, that street frontage is regulated. And it also pulls them in as literal partners with us for the deployment of EV charging in their communities. So they get excited about seeing this transition happen because they're literally benefiting from it in multiple ways. Oops. Another thing that's different about our approach is the design of our hardware. When we thought about what an EV charger would need if it was going to be located on the curbside, we kind of started from a clean slate and thought, what is it that cities really need to see? And what we determined was, first of all, the charger has to be well designed. People don't want to see things in front of their homes and businesses that look like gas pumps. So we really approached this with an industrial design perspective. And actually, we partnered with a company that has designed New York City's current street furniture. So things like bus shelters and wayfinding kiosks, we tried to borrow from that language. So it really is designed to sort of fit in with the urban context. We also decided that the charger had to be very durable. So as you can see, this charger is stripped down. There's no screens. There's no things that need to be attached to it that could sort of be a point of failure. And the other thing that's really unique about our charger is that it features a detachable charging cord. The detachable charging cord is actually a precedent that we picked up from the EU and the UK. They're a little bit ahead of us in terms of deploying EV chargers in the public right of way. And most of the public charging in the EU and the UK is done with this detachable cable model. They call it a untethered cable or a bring your own cord model. We're using that same standard, so it's interoperable. We're not sort of doing anything proprietary. We're just sort of borrowing what's already been developed. And the advantages of the detachable cable, as we've learned from the EU and the UK, are actually, there's two advantages that are universal and one that's specific to the US, and I'll go through them really quickly. The first is footprint of the charger. We can keep that charger footprint to a minimum. Our charging posts are just 7 inches by 7 inches. We don't have any sort of extraneous protuberances that manage the cord when it's not being used. The other thing is operations. We have been talking to cities and property owners in lots of different contexts that are having a problem with cord theft. So people are coming along and damaging the cords. Cords get damaged otherwise because people sort of drop them and the clips on the charger get broken. And so for us, if we do somehow have a damaged cord, which is less likely to happen because the cord is being kept in the car when it's not being used. We're simply replacing that cord and not sending out a truck to repair the charger. So that means that we don't have downtime so that other drivers can continue to use the cord. And we sort of prevent these kind of negative experiences that first-time EV drivers have when they get frustrated because they're not able to charge. The third advantage that I mentioned that's unique to the US is actually we're transitioning right now our charging standards. Many of you may have heard that all of the different automakers are shifting over to Tesla's charging adapter. So right now there's a little bit of, half of the cars on the road are Teslas, the other half are sort of everybody else. We don't actually have to make a decision about what sort of end to put on the cable of our charger. If you're a Tesla driver, we're going to give you a detachable cable that has that Tesla end on it. And if you're another kind of vehicle type, we'll give you that J1772 charger. And then we're future-proofed from this. We can avoid, that's what you would call sort of stranded assets that eventually will become out of date because the drivers have the correct standard no matter where no matter what kind of car they're driving. This is the getting drivers a cord is something that one of the things that we sort of do when drivers sign up. So driver encounters our charger. There's a QR code that takes them to our app where they can request a cord. We're typically able to get those drivers a cord within 24 hours. And once they have that charging cord, it's theirs to keep and they become a regular customer. Eventually, as it is set up in the EU and the UK, the cords will start to come with the cars. So that logistic problem that we have initially will sort of begin to fade away once drivers get more cords. We are, as I mentioned before, about 2 years old as a company. In that time, we have designed this charger. We have installed 7 of them in 2 different locations here in Brooklyn, and our 7th charger went in the ground late last year in Detroit. We have an active cohort of about 30 drivers at the moment. And our early pilot deployments were funded by Hyundai, the car company. And we continue to talk to other kind of corporate sponsors about different sort of piloting opportunities in different locations across the country as well. We are also the current recipients of a federal award called the Ride and Drive program. This is administered through the same funding opportunity as the bipartisan infrastructure law. We have partnerships with 4 different cities to deploy a curbside charging pilot. It's Alexandria, Jersey City, Detroit, and Los Angeles. So already in our early days, we have sort of built out a pipeline that is around 200 chargers. And it also includes that pipeline, this unique opportunity with AcceliGOV. The high-level details of the pilot include the deployment of 10 curbside chargers. And that's something that Itselectric would provide all of the services and equipment related to it, as sort of a turnkey process. So we will identify the locations of the chargers, we will execute the agreements with the host properties, and we will have the electricians come in and install the chargers. And then Itselectric, because we're not a hardware company, we are very different than some of the big charging companies that are out there today. Once we install that charger, we intend to own and operate it. So we continuously provide the operational and maintenance support for that charger to make sure that drivers are able to use it and that there's no issues with the charger. If they break down, then it's on us to come and fix the charger. That's part of what this AcceliGOV opportunity provides, is those 10 chargers that we, as I said before, that we provide and then install and then continue to operate and maintain. We are very interested in targeting what we call charger deserts, particularly in disadvantaged communities. The problem that we see around the current deployments of public EV charging in cities is they tend to be clustered in wealthier neighborhoods. For us, we see a better opportunity to be a little bit further away from the city centers, so from your downtowns, but actually to where people are doing that overnight charging. So when you think of us, don't imagine that we are kind of competing for metered space on a main street or a boulevard. Rather, we're on those residential side streets where people are typically installing their chargers, or sorry, where people are typically parking their vehicles overnight or during their work shifts. Again, this AcceliGOV grant would cover all of the costs associated with it. So there would be no bottom line procurement from the city itself or from our host properties that we're working with. And this would also sort of be this extension of the other pilot activities that we already have established. So this isn't something that would be starting up from scratch. We're able to sort of build on our existing network. That's really kind of the presentation. I think I've kind of gone through all of the high level points.